August and September are big time trappers prep months, at least for me. I wish I could prep a little sooner, but that's when the weather gets nice and I can open up the fur shed. And every year I've had like a longer list of things to do. A couple of things that I've been doing kind of for weeks now is making wax dirt. So I showed y'all last year, this is my method. I use the steam table method, and I put about 14 cups of dry dirt. And by the way, this year I just got dirt from my garden and threw it out on tarps for a few days and went to work, and you know, as long as it wasn't a rainy day, hey, there's a cup. Then I just scooped it up, sifted it, and made buckets full of it. So I have so many buckets of dry dirt. I think last year I did like 15 gallons, which is 3 5-gallon buckets like this, and this year I have twice that much. So I did run out last year and started going to a lot of grass and stuff. Geez, there's another cup. This is flake wax, by the way. So I have, ooh, blew that one out. I have some of it probably got hot in shipping or something, so it's clumped together, but it breaks apart okay. So there's 3 cups there, and I need just 4 cups that I use for my recipe. A couple more of these clumps will be like 4 cups. And a lot of guys use like a cement mixer, which is great for big batches. This is what I call small batch wax dirt. I'm not at the point where I want to buy a cement mixer to do this. And I am at the point where I kind of just enjoy doing it like this. So it's my time to sit around playing the dirt before trapping season. So I'll go ahead and just mix this stuff around. And it's getting hot over the steam table. And then I have my little laser gun here. Oh, you don't need to use this, but it's pretty sweet. So it's 108 degrees at the surface. You could just feel that it's warm. 140 degrees, I think, is when this wax melts. So usually I hit like 140. One thing that can happen in the cement mixer, I've seen a mistake, is scorching your dirt. And I suppose that would cause a lot of scent. So with this method, because you have water under there, it's never going to get too hot. Anyways, my wax dirt is cooking, and I have been dipping traps and dipping chains and things, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. I don't have black walnut hulls, but I have some logwood dye that I bought in a bag, and I have a bucket of wax in here. But I will say in the last couple of years I haven't used them, because after that I tried speed dip, and speed dip is basically a black paint or dye that is mixed with gasoline, and it's a basically dip and you're done, and you don't have to wax. And then since then, by the way, this is getting nice and hot now, so I better stir it some more. Since then, I'm using Formula 1, and Formula 1 is basically like speed dip, but it does not use gasoline, it uses water. And well, let's see what it tells you on the can here. So the can says it's a professional blend, trap, and snare treatment that deodorizes, protects, and dries in about 24 hours. No sticky finish or waxing needed. So it's kind of like, I did have a problem sometimes when waxing, that I would have clumps, or I know that you can avoid that. You have to hold that trap down in the wax until it's the same temperature as the wax, and then when you come and bring it out, it's a thinner coat. Anyways, I have not been waxing or dyeing, and I have been using Formula 1, and I do like it because with all the trap prep that you have to do, saving some time is definitely a bonus. And also I find it really easy to work with, because this is like my bucket of Formula 1, and I've had this bucket for I guess 2 years. Maybe this is my 3rd year doing it. And basically you just take more Formula 1 when you need it, and dump it in here. And it's 1 part Formula 1 and 2 parts water, and you don't have to use smart water. Actually, this is my house water. I'm just reusing the bottle. So I'll go ahead and mix a couple parts water into that. And then I leave a lid on this and it stays in my shed. And I tell you what, it never dries up as long as it's sealed up in the pickle bucket here. It always stays ready to go, ready to dip. So I'll be dipping traps and swirl this around a little bit, get everything out. And I'll be dipping chains and getting everything protected. It's pretty nice to make sure that your stuff doesn't get all rusty, especially your traps. It's a pretty big investment building up your trap supply, and taking care of them is a great way to keep them working for you. So we go with a little bit more smart water. And it makes me feel like I'm smart. And 1 more, so that'll be 1 part Formula 1, 2 parts water. I know that you could buy this out there. It's like, I think it's rebranded by some trap supply places, but it's still the same stuff, this water-based dip. So you can use a paint stick if you want, just to, I just found a stick in the backyard here. Stir it all up. It is really nice that it dries fast. And this does help if you're pushing, meaning you didn't get everything done and you need to get your traps dipped right before you have to use them. I know with dyeing and waxing, it's like a couple-day process, but with Formula 1, you can do this in 1 day, and basically the next day you could go put your traps out. I'm sure it's going to cure a little bit better in a little bit more time, but they say 24 hours should be good. Let's see what temperature we got here. 134, so it's getting there. So yeah, I'm just going to stir this up, and then nothing goes to waste. Throw the lid on here, so when I'm ready to dip a little later, I got it ready to go. So for the wax dirt, just as a review on that, once it's up to temp here, I just scoop it out and I throw it out on a tarp and then let it cool in a thin layer. Otherwise it can clump up again. And then I just shake it up on the tarp and fill it into buckets. I don't really know how you're supposed to do this, but all I'm doing is taking the wire coon stretchers and bending them and just let it go and measure it to the board. So this one could probably get bent in a little bit more. Voila. It's now more or less the size of the board. By the way, at the trapping convention, I bought a bunch of these MB 550s, and I've already boiled them in hot water and skimmed off the petroleum that, you know, it's like just a protective grease or oil that's on them when you get them. So you can see they got a little rust. Probably could leave them outside to get a little more surface rust, but right now I'm dipping them in Formula 1 dip, which I have a bucket here from last year. I just made a little clip. I just made a little S-hook with some trapping wire. So I'm getting a little low on this, but I'm basically just swishing them around, leaning them over in there, getting both sides, and then hanging them up. I don't know about everybody else, but I don't find that the Formula 1 coats everything on one dip. So I'm probably going to end up dipping these a couple times, and then I'll just let them hang out on my garden fence here for a while, and then they'll be ready to go. Yeah, it's September and it's a warm sunny day, so I'm getting some work in to get my ATV ready for trapping season as well. Up in the front here is where I keep all of my, well, these are a bunch of coyote poops in a bag, but these are my lure and bait handling gloves, and then I use Skippy peanut butter jars mainly. There's some Leggets in here, and I've got just about every other call and lure, and this other one here. I switch them out. I don't use a lot of urine anymore, but I'll probably put some coyote or fox urine in there so it's ready to go. And this will be my first year trying out Top Dog Predator bait by Hoosier Trapper Supply. And this is my own homemade bait, which worked really well last year. So that's the front of my ATV. I gotta actually take my battery out and get the corrosion off those connections there. I think the battery's okay. And then my trunk, actually, I just vacuumed this sucker out. It was a mess, so it's fine now. That's where I keep my dispatch ammo, and in here is going to be lots of things, everything from bags of wool to feathers, more feathers, bones that I pick up along the way, a lot of straps in case I have to strap anything in. It's a work in progress, but in my my first shed, I got a bunch of new things to try at the show. This is my turkey feathers that I collected at the end of last season from my buddy's turkey. So I've been working on wax dirt, and I'm gonna have several buckets. This is all the work that has to be done before the season starts. By the way, some of you guys who watch my Trapline Talk know my buddy John Labotsky. My first trapping teacher passed away, and his family gave me these few things here. So I got some, I guess back in the day they'd give you some pelt seals to just hang on to. So he had a couple of those. I don't think this actually exists anymore, but that's the Dutchess County Trapping Association pin, and one of John's trap tags. So that's just gonna stay in my shed as in memory of John as I'm working out here, hopefully handling fur. What else I got at the trapping convention this year are these geez, I forgot what you call them, rings, basically quick rings. So last year I used these quick links on most of my trap sets. Some of them actually don't fit through the chain if they're too big, and then the smaller ones I had at least one pull apart. It's the weak link in the chain, so I know a lot of guys are using these. I asked at the trapping convention, and one guy said he's, never had any problem with the, 50-pound coyote on one of these. So I'm gonna try those out this year. I gotta get this emptied out because I'm gonna need to be able to skin and put some furs in here when I don't have time to scrape them right away. Yeah, I'm still dipping here, but I thought I'd also kind of review why I have these kind of traps and some of the different ones I have. So of course these ones still haven't been dipped yet, but I power washed them off. Some of these have been dyed and waxed in the past. So right here we have the MB550, that's the Minnesota brand, and of course I got the newer ones up there dipped. They have this stainless steel dog, which is pretty awesome, and it's got a little night latch groove in it, which is pretty awesome. These pans set really level, they bed pretty nice. This one happens to be a 4-coil, so I got 4 springs on there. I'm actually going to go through and bring them all down to 2 coils like this one, because I can't get these. When I have an animal trapped in one of these, it is really hard to open these jaws with the 4-coil, and honestly I don't think it's really needed. The trap is fast enough with 2, it holds everything with 2. But here, these are my original traps when I first started trapping. These are Bridger 1 3/4. I will still use these, especially if I know that I'm kind of targeting a fox, although you could even go smaller with a fox trap. This will hold a coyote, but I'd rather, if I'm setting specifically for coyotes or bobcats, I'm going to try to use the 550s. This one over here is actually a Duke 550. I picked up a few of these last year. They're designed pretty much kind of like a copy of the MB. That looks, you can see they have a square pan instead of a round one. These are 5 3/4 when they're spread. That's legal in New York State. Of course, these are too. These are some old Victor, I don't know what they are, number 3s or something, number 2s. These are, these were given to me by John, I think. I won't be using these. They're just, they're not strong enough. You can see these jaws are not even really closed properly. Right over here is where they pull out on you. You'd have to like braze a little knob on there or bend these up stronger. They're just not reliable for me anymore. So just hang them in my shed for decoration, I guess. I got a couple of them, but the 1 3/4 bridgers I'll be using. I can set the pan tension on these right here with this little screw to about 2 pounds, 3 pounds pan tension. This one happens to be a round jaw one as opposed to square jaw. I don't really have any. I remember I learned something about the difference of them, but I can't remember what that is right now. So anyways, I'm going to keep dipping. I got about 50 predator traps now. Well, those of you who watched my Trapline Talk last season, I started going out a lot with the ATV pulling this trailer, which is awesome. I mean, I can keep buckets of waxed dirt and buckets of traps, and my catch gets tossed in there. Last year I moved a whole deer in there. But these railings on this thing, as you can see, this thing had one season. This was like an Amazon special, you know. I can't remember how much it was. I'll put it up on the screen here, but obviously the paint just chipped right off. It's rusting, and when you're riding through farm fields, they are so bumpy that these things just fly right off. I mean, at the end of the season I was like looking back and these things were gone, and I'd have to go back and find them, and I'll show you a little bit why. It's because they had little spring buttons. Let's see if I can find one. I think there's only like one left. Maybe not even. Yeah, see this here? This is a little spring button, and that's supposed to pop into the hole here. Excuse me, I'm real dirty today from dipping traps. Look at them all over there, you know? It's a beautiful sight. So what I'm gonna do, I think, is I'm gonna drill these out, and I'm gonna put bolts in here, because I did go at the end of the season without using these at all, but the trailer's not really deep enough. I really like having the cage on there. You can see also this is supposed to hold the sides on. So I even like was using zip ties, and I was doing everything I could. This one has 3 zip ties on it to try to hold this all together. But over the bumps, let's see if I can get this thing. I can't even get that thing. Over the bumps on the farm, it's just too bouncy. And I have a jet sled, and I have this Pelican sled here, and that's fine. I can rig them up to pull. But in my area, there's not always snow, so it's a little bit better if I have something with wheels, because I'll be wearing out. I already wore out the bottom of one of these jet sleds just from pulling it by hand. Or this one's a Pelican, but yeah. So I'm gonna take the time and fix this up before trapping season, so it's ready to tow. All right, I put washers and bolts into every one of these. They're sticking out a little bit inside, which is fine. And I kind of restored my trailer. I sanded off most of the rust with a Brillo and then respray painted it. I'm sure it's going to get beat up again this winter trapping, but it's looking really good, and these are definitely not going to fly off on me this year because they're bolted in nice and tight. Put some lock nuts on them, painted them too, ready to rock. Hey there, I'm still doing early season trapping prep, and I guess this is kind of like the boring stuff when it comes to Trapline Talk and getting out there and actually trapping animals and being in the woods every day. But the more you do of this, the more you're a prepared trapper, and every year it seems like there's something I could do a little better. So anybody who's watched me, you might know that I stretched my raccoons on these wires. I got a bunch of these, you can tell because these are a little rusty, for free. Someone dropped off like something like 60 of them. Another friend trapper dropped them off to my house, so I'm splitting them between me and another friend. But look how wide they are. They're too wide, and I was criticized on my coon finishing, and it's weird, you know, I don't know actually why they make them so wide then. But here is a coon stretcher board that Chappie gave me, or I bought from Chappie for a very reasonable price. And this was the right size, so I eventually got them to the right size. So what I'm doing is I'm bending these today to make them the same size as the board. So here's one that's, you know, basically the same size as the board. And I talked to Gary Groenwald when I sold him my raccoons, and he said it's fine to use wire. And since I'm gonna sell all my raccoons to him, then I'm just gonna use a bunch of these wire. I have about 3 boards, but I'm not gonna buy more boards when I get wires for free. So I'm out here bending these in the driveway, and Willie's here with me. Hey Willie, he's helping me out. Right, buddy? He's chewing on just about everything. He likes to chew on these. I forgot what you call these things, but they're the little crushers for cable to hold cable together. Can't remember the name of those. I'll put it here on the screen. But also, since it's a little sunny out and I got a little tired of bending coon wires, I'm making up some wolf fang anchors. So here's the wolf fang end, the anchor that goes in the ground, and I just cut the cable. Mine don't have to be too long because I have some chain going in the ground with them, so they're about 1 foot long. And all I'm doing is looping these. First of all, put that on, and then I'm looping this around. So you can buy these all made up. It's just a little cheaper to make them up yourself. And so I just pull the cable through like that. I'm gonna slide it up a little bit tighter. Oh, and then Willie just spilled a whole bunch. Good job, buddy. And then I'm gonna just take my crimpers here, throw this in. Kind of doing this at an awkward position for the camera itself, but I'll go ahead and squish this against my body twice. I usually do them twice, once on each end. All right, and now that's all crimped on there and ready to go, and I'm hanging up a whole stack of these here, getting them ready for the season. So these wolf fangs are what I started with. I have the driver for these. I have a puller that works for these when I want to pull them out. Are there better anchors? Yeah, there's better, more expensive stuff all the time. So there's the, I don't know what they're called, super anchors or super stakes. There's winged ones. I mean, they're awesome, but I've already invested in this system and it's working for me. I can buy these pretty cheap in bulk and then make up my anchors. And these are supposed to be disposable, so you could leave them in the ground. I end up either, whoops, you got all wrapped up, buddy. I either get them marked with a ribbon that I'll use in another year, or I'll pull them out. Well, you can see this is one of the ones I used last year, and it's in perfect shape. But once in a while, when you pull these out, they'll bend if they get caught behind a rock or something, and you have to make up some more. And that's why I'm making up a bunch more, so I have them all ready for this year. So, yep, Yeah, that one's pretty bent and spent. Willie has learned that chewing on a piece of mulch is a lot better than chewing on some of these anchors. He's a good fur shed dog. Right, Willie? Yeah, good boy. You're a good boy. So I got some new chain this year. So part of my prep here is I'm going to boil this up so I get all the oil off it, and then I'm going to go ahead and dip those as well. Wow, so this is like a couple hours later, and I'm pretty shocked how dry and pretty well coated the chains are. I'm still probably going to dip them one more time. Okay, so Willie and I are working with the chain now. So this is the chain that I dipped, and it's pretty good, you know. It's amazing because it's obviously the links are touching each other and there might be a little spot, but I can barely see that. I dipped it twice, and Willie's giving it the lick test. So what I'm gonna do with the chain is I had a couple of drags that didn't have chains, so I made a couple more drags. There's like 8 foot of chain there, and I'm just gonna put a quick link on the end, and that'll be ready. And then I'm using these Hags slides, and I'm gonna make a couple more chains up. I started this last year and it worked out great, where this is a one-way slide for this number 2 chain so that I can move my catch away from the catch site, which in some cases is good for me because I don't want them to be seen by people, and I don't want them to mess up the trap site. Okay, there it is, my first weasel box. Like I said, I'm not a carpenter, but I glued this and it's cedar. I probably should have drilled pilot holes, but I was able to get the screws in. And over here we have a little latch so we can open her up, and we'll be putting the old trap in there. Yeah, so here's the trap that's going in there. It's just a rat trap, and weasel will jump in through the hole and hit the pan on that and snap. And down here is where we'll put the beaver meat. Latch keeps it nice and closed. Gonna put some beaver in there, so we have some vent holes so that the weasel can smell it, and then they'll jump in here, get caught in the trap. So right now Willie and I are getting the traps off the fence and making buckets full, and I'm checking each one. And I just wanted to show you one thing. Yeah, I know Willie wants to show you too. Right here, you see on this dog here, this is a stainless steel dog, and when you dip it into the Formula 1, it gets a coating on it, just like as if you waxed it. And right on the edge here, I'm gonna have to scrape this off where the night latch sets, and I can't do it on camera because I don't have my tripod, so I'll just do this and then show you the result. Right, so obviously this one is it's a brand new one, Willie, look. Yep, check it out. Oh yeah, chew that stuff right off. All right, so that's now perfect. And even my ones that are, you know, rusted, the older ones that have a little rust or a little wax gum on them, I'm still cleaning them all off. All right, and while Willie digs up some bugs over there, I'll show you the night latch. So those of you who don't understand that, right here where the pan is resting on the dog above the night latch, you'll see that the pan is a little bit high when we go on an angle like this. It's kind of pointing up a little bit. So we're gonna pull that down a little flatter, and you should hear a little click. There it is. Now it's clicked into place, and we can see the pan is down inside the jaws, nice and flat. That's what I love about these MB 550s. They're super duper consistent in their build and their operation. Willie's digging up a storm here. All right, we're not doing any dirt holes yet, buddy, but soon, okay? Yep, so anyways, I'll trip this off now. So you can just go under the weak side jaw here and close that up. Also right now what I'm doing is going through all my traps and removing these guys, and I'm replacing everything with the rings. So easy to snap on and snap off my anchors or slide chains. And getting down there, but I still have a few left. Okay, I finally got through the freezer too in my pre-season prep, so let me show you what I did here. Mainly in that chest freezer over there, I still have glands from coyotes and fox and bobcats, but I don't really have any plans to do anything with them yet. I'm just saving them till I have enough to maybe make my own lure. But in any case, what I'm doing here is I'm setting up these little mascarpone cheese cups with a little bit of anise oil and beaver meat, and that's going to be for my weasel boxes, which I still have to assemble. I got one made over there, but yeah, and I'm just going to put the lids on and stack them in the freezer, then I can just grab those. I don't plan on doing tons of weasel trapping. This is my first time, so I'm just going to try this. This actually fits real nice right down in the box. I'll show you. Yeah, so when my trap is set, I got the bait right down in there, and then just close it up, and you know, they got to go in there and get snapped. This is the artistic hole on the front. That's the one that looks good. I ended up getting a hole saw and cut these perfect ones, which don't look as good, but you know, Mr. Weasel doesn't care. Otherwise, I quartered that beaver to make fisher bait. So these are front and hind quarter legs. I cut some meat off them, but these are perfect for the fisher boxes, which are right up there in the ceiling. So and then this is my extra beaver meat. Basically, I do like to make my own bait, and I have some muskrat meat and beaver meat that I'm saving. And these I'm purposely not filling the bags too much and squishing them nice and flat, so that when I do pull them out, it's easy to get some off if I want to make more of these, or thaw it out quick if I want to make up some bait. So yeah, that's the freezer. It's now pretty empty. I got some pheasants in there and my rooster, which I'll be using for the bobcat sets.